true self cannot evolve. It doesn't evolve. The thing that evolves is the body and mind. But it's not evolving to become better. It's evolving to become more transparent for the consciousness to shine through. So it becomes lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. So as you may have noticed, if you've been following this channel for a longer time, I'm no longer so much a radical, non-dual type of guy. You know, I've changed a little bit. Looking back on that time where I was really into radical non-duality, I can now recognize that it's a form of denial. You know, on one level it's true, there's no body to begin with. There's no self. Because who's the one controlling or animating this character? It feels like there's a self that's animating this character. It's living this life. When in actuality it's just energy moving, animating, decisions are happening, it's just molecules and atoms dancing around. It's like there's a form of life that is animating this whole universe. And from the perspective of every living being, it feels like I'm doing this. So on one level it's true. But there's a certain point in this recognition where it's no longer a real recognition, it's a form of denial. A lot of people who aren't able to really, or are not willing to look at their trauma, for example, or are unwilling to process their emotions, are just saying there's nobody that has to process them. There's nobody there. There's no body. There's no mind. There's no emotion. There's there's nothing. There's nothing here. There's nobody there. You see? And I also had to see for myself that I was in a form of denial. I had a lot of trauma that I wasn't really aware of. But still there was a form of suffering going on, but I wasn't really aware of or sensitive enough to really register that it was there. And at the same time, right in this stage of my life, the realization of non-duality, it just clicked for me, because I saw that everything's just happening. It's one movement, it's one being that's happening. So it felt like my motivation or my willingness to even look at myself was just going away, because I did not feel anymore that there was a self. So, but at the same time, there was still a sense that something's missing. And over time, I was able to drop this, how should I call this? It's maybe an ego that feels like it is not existing. It's a radical non-dual ego that says nobody's here. And as I said, from the level of the absolute, that's true. But at a certain point, I was able to get over this ego from this. It's like an initial stage to realize that there is nobody there. There's no duality. There's no distance between awareness and whatever's appearing. There's just what's appearing. You know, that's like beginner stage. And at a certain point, I was able to transcend this beginner stage, and I was able to embody my human nature again and see, okay, even though that's true, there is still somehow a path that's unfolding. There's still a path unfolding in front of me. And before that awakening, I felt like I was the one trying to go this path. I'm the one that's creating this path. But somehow life happened and showed me that it just gave me a certain stage in life, a certain lesson in life where I was like chained. I was no longer able to go a path. There was no direction for me. I was just existing, feeling the suffering, feeling my nervous system, at the same time knowing there was no self that could even do something about anything. And I was just there. And I was also filled with a sense of guilt. Like, man, you have to do something. You're alive, you're a human being, you're young, you have to do something. But at the same time, it felt like God took out the energy. Like my source of energy that would have been the very thing that would give me the motivation to do something. It's like God took away the energy from me so that I was unable to do anything. So I was just like forced to like be here. It's like in a prison. There's like a legend of an ape. What's his name again? Sun Wukong. It's like an ape that was so driven by the ego, and then the Buddha was imprisoning this ape in a mountain or in a rock for like 500 years, I think. And I felt like that exactly. So now it feels like I'm still I'm able to recognize my non-dual nature, which is pure awareness. But at the same time, the way is unfolding in front of me. It's like the way is unfolding in front of me. It doesn't feel the same anymore. Before it felt like I'm on a path trying to look for something, trying to reach a certain destination. Now it feels like I'm just here. And the path is going through me. So it's like it's twisted. It's like before I was trying to find God, and now it feels like God is going through me. It's like I'm being guided. If you're no longer the one that's trying to get ahead, then it's like the path will go through you. It's like it's unfolding in front of you. Sometimes you, and when I say you, it's like the self that is created by the mind, which means that what I'm trying to say is the mind doesn't know where to go, what to do, what's the reasonable thing to do now. At a certain point you will see that the mind is stupid in a way. It doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know as much as it thinks it knows. It cannot figure life out. So the mind at a certain point is no longer useful. Especially when it comes to figuring out what to do in this life, where to go. So I see the mind now just as it is useful when it comes to certain things, but it doesn't know where to go. It's like the body and the nervous system and nature as one are like evolving intelligently but spontaneously in a certain direction. And nobody can predict, the mind cannot predict where it's going. But the mind is creating a certain self-image that can say, I'm this, I'm that, and I want to go there. So the mind wants to go there. But at the same time, the organism of the body and nature is slowly but intelligently, unpredictably evolving in this direction. So then the mind wants to go there, and it says, I need to find, the final destination, and I know that it's in this direction, but in 5 years from now, you'll see that life has evolved in a completely different direction. And funny enough, the direction where it's going is where you have to go. So let's say, for example, when you are trying to overcome a certain trauma, when you're trying to overcome a certain let's say that you have a stuck emotion that you weren't able to process in the last 6 years. And now you think you want to get rid of that, and the mind comes up with a certain idea or a plan on how to get rid of that certain emotion, so that, and the goal is to become free of that. And the mind says, I need to do this. Hopefully it will work. But at the same time, you think that you're going in this direction, but at the same time, the organism, life through you, is evolving in this direction, and then the mind feels like, no, I'm not on the right path. What am I doing? But then you will see, if you trust a little bit, or you don't even have to trust, it's happening anyway, you'll see that life already knows what you need. So it takes you in a certain direction where you need to learn the right lessons for you to actually let go of the thing that you wanted to let go. But it wasn't in this way, it wasn't that way. And that's my intuition. That's like, I feel, even though we want certain things and we want to hold on to certain things, sometimes those things are not meant to be, because we are supposed to go there, and we are growing into this direction automatically, because it's just intelligence taking over. It's like, so it's like you're not different from a tree, for example. The tree is just growing spontaneously. Nobody knows how a baby tree is going to look like in 5 or 10 years. So there's intelligence happening, but there's no owner of this intelligence. You see? That's how my intuition tells me that life is just happening. Some people feel lost because they feel like, especially sensitive people, who feel like they are not on the right path, or they don't know if they're doing the right thing, feel like they are lost, they're not on the right path, and at a certain point, this stage in your awakening is basically there to break your mind. It's basically there to break your ego and show you sometimes you're not supposed to know where to go. Sometimes you're supposed to feel the sense of suffering that comes up when you just feel lost. And you're supposed to feel lost sometimes, because there is a certain lesson for you in that. You see? But the more you're able to surrender to that and accept that this is happening right now, and it's not my fault, and it's supposed to happen right now, it's part of the organic process, then you will see that actually sometimes the biggest freedom that we can have is not in knowing the path, but in trusting that the path is unfolding regardless. So it is a complete switch from being an ego that thinks it's on a path, I have to do this, I should accomplish that, I have to become someone. Then awakening, completely losing yourself, not knowing where you are. Also saying that there's nobody there, there's nobody to improve, but at the same time there is a great pit in your heart. And then there is a certain shift that happens when you just, it's a knowing. It's not something you can explain rationally, but it's a knowing where you just feel that there's a certain intelligence that is in charge of evolution inside of you, and it is in charge of you, and you just know. There's like a certain trust or intuition that knows tomorrow's going to be all right, or even today. You feel something will happen. I'm on the right path. I don't know why, but you just feel it, and it's not in an ego sense that you know that you're on the right path. It's not that you just, you know, I feel that I'm going to make a lot of money, and I feel like I'm going to have this and that. It's more like you feel like the refinement of your relative being is going to improve in a way. Because once you recognize your true self, which is the pure consciousness, once you recognize that peace, and you really want to, you're no longer interested in the ego stuff, but you really want to abide in that, and you want to have more of that peace. You want to be absorbed in it. Once that happens, then you're naturally going to have the certain impulse to refine your body and mind to such an extent that it's no longer clouding the consciousness so much. You see? And then you intuitively know that life is guiding you in such a direction. Life is supporting you. You don't have to do it on your own. You can't, because you are just a construct of the mind and it's powerless. But life is supporting you through this body, through life, through happenings, through certain occasions that happen spontaneously. It will help you refine the body and mind to such an extent that the consciousness can more and more shine through the body and mind. So that the heavy pain body is no longer so much in the way, and the chaotic, confused mind is no longer in the way. You become more centered and balanced. And that's not something you can strive for through practices. If life is going to give you a practice that feels right in your heart, then that's the right thing. But it's not happening because you're doing it out of discipline. It's happening because life wants you to do this for a while. But you'll see, if you stick with that practice, after some time, you're going to find something new. Because there's not the one practice you can do for your whole life, and that's just the thing that you have to do. There's not one practice, is what I'm trying to say. Your trust in what's happening already is the only practice there is, actually. So there's still, of course, non-duality, radical non-duality, call it however you want to, but even if there is no self, it's not even if, it's a fact, there is no self. But there is an appearance of the self. Let's say, for example, the self that is constructed by the mind hears the words "there is no self," then just knowing that as an intellectual, let's call it a fact, is not enough to get rid of that self. And even if it's quiet for a while, there is still the energetic signature of the pain body, of the ego in the body that's working through the body. So that very recognition of the true self, which is not a psychological entity that is deciding and saying I'm right, gives you the impulse to become more purified. You see? So there is a certain balance between having already arrived, because the true self cannot evolve. It doesn't evolve. The thing that evolves is the body and mind. But it's not evolving to become better. It's evolving to become more transparent for the consciousness to shine through. So it becomes lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter, so that the consciousness, which is already pure, can shine through. That's the kind of evolution that's happening. At least that's what my intuition tells me. So there is a certain balance between being a pure consciousness which is not able to evolve because it's already whole, balance between that and being a human being with an ego, with a certain self-image, with certain aspirations to become more clear, become more refined, become more transparent, still having to live a life, still having friends, still having, all that stuff. So there's a certain balance that is really important. And I think the most important lesson that I want to give you also, that I've learned, is that just because you're suffering doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. When you're suffering and you're on the spiritual path and you want to get rid of that suffering, which is a natural impulse, by the way, it doesn't mean that you are doing your practices wrong. Sometimes you have to go through that fire of suffering because it's exactly what will teach you the lesson that you have to learn. It's not an intellectual lesson. It's something, at a certain point, it will just click and you feel like evolution happened. And you cannot tell what happened, but people will be able to tell something happened in this person. Like he grew or she grew. So sometimes suffering is the practice. Accepting that, okay, this is what's happening right now. I feel like I'm suffering, I'm feeling so tight, I'm trying all I can to get rid of that. I'm doing all the breath work, I'm taking ayahuasca, I'm taking ashwagandha, I'm taking all of that stuff. I'm trying all that stuff, but it doesn't work, and I would like to be able to relax. I would like to relax, but I can't. Sometimes it's just your turn to just relax. And not relax if you cannot relax, but just accept the state you're in, because that's the very fire you need to, that is purifying you right now. It's the very fire that is trying to make you transparent for the consciousness to shine through. It's a complex thing, and there's no one right way. You really have to, but also you don't have to stress out about it and think that you have to become complex and stuff like that. Basically, just trust. Because life has you. Don't trust your mind, trust life. Alright? So, I wish you a great day, and yeah, see ya.